Welcome back to Grimverse History, where we uncover the strange and forgotten sides of history. Tonight we're stepping into a world most people still romanticize, the Roman Empire. But not the empire of marble and triumph, not the clean, noble Rome from the history books. The rot beneath the gold, the daily horrors, humiliations, and hidden rules of survival. We'll see what life was really like for ordinary people under the empire that called itself eternal. Rome, the great empire, golden statues, glorious battles, chariots racing through the streets. What if you were just an ordinary person, dropped into the grandeur of the Roman Empire? You wouldn't last a day, not because of war, not even because of disease, but because cruelty was woven into everyday life. The streets that looked majestic, they smelled of sewage and blood. The baths everyone raved about, breeding grounds for disease. And beneath the marble floors of the palaces, there were whispers of men and women who served, who suffered, who prayed to gods that never answered. You open the heavy wooden door. The air smells of damp stone and candle wax. You step inside, the coolness of the marble floor beneath your feet. The room is dimly lit by torches, casting long shadows along the walls. A distant sound of chains rattling echoes softly. The weight of it all presses in. The power, the fear, the silence. And yet, here you are, trapped in a world that doesn't let you forget for one moment who is in control. So, take a slow breath. Let the noise of your day dissolve. You've walked through centuries tonight, and somehow you've come back whole. If this journey kept you company in the quiet, leave a gentle mark before you drift away. Tap the like button softly. Subscribe so you don't miss the next story waiting in the shadows. And share it so another wanderer might find their way here too. Dim the lights. Let the hum of your fan become your heartbeat. Slow your thoughts. Let the centuries draw near. It's the year 79 CE. The empire stands at its height. Marble glows under the sun. But beneath the beauty, something festers. A darker world built on blood, ash, and quiet obedience. Tonight, you'll walk those streets. You'll see what it truly took to survive a single day in Rome. The banquet of humiliation. Power as public violation. The music begins before the horror does. Soft strings, silver cups, laughter bouncing against marble walls. The scent of roasted meat and honeyed wine hangs in the air. It's 39 CE. Caligula smiles, and tonight, the show is not the gladiators, it's humiliation. At the end of the table sits a senator, his robe perfect, his hands trembling just slightly. Next to him, his wife, still, pale, beautiful in the worst possible way. Caligula raises his cup. He points. Just that. A gesture that unthreads the world. The guards move before thought does. They take her gently, like a ritual offering. The senator doesn't breathe. If he does, he might die. The room freezes in its own luxury. Even the music hesitates, unsure whether to keep playing or run. It's not desire. It's demonstration. Power rehearsed as cruelty. He makes the room listen to it, because power only feels real when it's witnessed. You imagine being there. The gold light flickers on your skin. The wine tastes like rust. You want to look away, but you don't. No one does. When she returns, her body moves, but her soul has stayed behind the curtain. Caligula describes what he did, every detail. He wants the senator to remember and never speak. That's how fear works here. It's not about death. It's about survival that feels worse. Rome worships dignity, so Caligula destroys it. Simple math. Humiliation is control made visible. The air turns thick. Even the candles look nervous. Someone coughs. Too loud. Too human. No one laughs. In Rome, honor means more than breath. So when Caligula steals it, he steals the empire's language itself. Every empire has its rituals. His just happened to be flesh and silence. He doesn't need soldiers for this, just witnesses. A man can heal from a wound, but never from being watched. Later, the feast resumes. Someone pours wine. Someone pretends to smile. The senator bows his head, murmurs gratitude, because gratitude is safer than grief. Outside, the night hums with cicadas. Inside, the marble remembers. Rome calls it civilization. It's really just cruelty in costume. And when shame becomes a ceremony, no one at the table leaves untouched. You take another sip of wine, it burns. And somewhere inside that silence, you realize, in Caligula's Rome, dinner could kill you faster than any sword. The system of fear. Silence as survival. The night after the banquet feels colder. Not because the air has changed, but because everyone has. In Rome, silence spreads faster than smoke. It seeps through corridors, under doors, into dreams. Men learn to lower their voices, then their eyes, then their thoughts. Caligula doesn't need an army of loyal men. He only needs people too frightened to speak. That's cheaper and far more efficient. Rumor becomes law here. Someone whispers that a senator frowned during dinner. By dawn, the man's head decorates the palace gate. Another whispers that Caligula's statue looks tired. By noon, the sculptor vanishes. By evening, so does the whisper. You see, terror in Rome isn't loud. It's administrative. Well-dressed. Polite. A signature on a tablet. A nod from a guard. A scream that never makes it outside the wall. The emperor's genius isn't madness. It's rhythm. He teaches senators to measure every breath, to rehearse every smile, to practice stillness like prayer. Even their laughter becomes state property. Some call it politics. Others call it survival. Both are correct. You wake in the night, not your bed, theirs. The marble floor breathes cold into your feet. Outside, boots scrape the stone in slow intervals. A sound like a clock, counting the seconds between safety and suspicion. No one sleeps deeply in Caligula's Rome. You dream of the wrong thing, and you might speak it aloud. The walls have ears. Literally, slaves are rewarded for betrayal. Even silence can be misinterpreted as defiance, so men learn a new language, the art of pretending not to exist. In the Senate, they bow deeper. They agree faster. They die slower. The punishment isn't always death. Sometimes it's waiting for death, a more educational outcome. Fear becomes the empire's oxygen. You breathe it without noticing. It sharpens your senses. It keeps your head attached. And when someone else disappears, you thank the gods, quietly, that it wasn't you. Somewhere, a guard laughs. A door closes. Another man stops existing. No trial, no echo, just subtraction. That's how Caligula rules. Not through laws, but through hesitation. Every choice a citizen makes is shadowed by the thought, will he notice? When terror works perfectly, it doesn't look like terror anymore. It looks like order. Men line up, bow and smile. The empire runs beautifully, smooth as marble, silent as a tomb. You listen to the sound of sandals retreating down the hall. You think about speaking, but you don't. Not here, not now. In Rome, silence isn't cowardice. It's just the tax you pay for staying alive another day. The auction of innocence, virginity for sale. Morning arrives too bright for what's about to happen. The sun paints the marble courtyards gold, as if pretending light can make this holy. Today, Caligula invents a new ritual, a marketplace, he says, for purity, the kind that sells quickly and dies slowly. The crowd gathers in the palace atrium, senators, courtiers, men who smell of oil and pride. They laugh the way men laugh when they've agreed not to feel. At the center stands a line of girls, barefoot, silent, their white robes thin as breath. 14, 15, maybe 16. Names from old noble houses, daughters raised to kneel in temples, not on auction blocks. The herald reads their family titles like product descriptions. He announces dowries, eyes, skin, bloodline. The room hums with bids, coins, favors, land, secrets. It's not commerce, it's theater. And every man plays his part perfectly. A girl is sold, applause. Another follows, applause again. Each transaction polishes the emperor's smile. Because here, corruption isn't hidden. It's lit like art. You can almost hear her breathing as she walks away. Her sandals scrape against the marble, a sound small enough to break a god's heart. If gods still listen here. The fathers stand still, their eyes fixed on the ground. They know resistance is treason. They know silence is survival. And so they master the art of standing motionless while the world dismantles their children. Caligula watches. He doesn't look at the girls. He looks at the fathers. Because that's the real purchase. To own a man through his shame. When it's over, the atrium smells of perfume and sweat. Coins clink. Wine flows again. The audience disperses, satisfied, as if they've witnessed a successful festival. Rome loves its rituals, even when they rot. Later, rumors say that one girl tried to run. The guards caught her near the stables. By evening, her body was gone. By morning, so was her family name. Records erased, as if innocence itself had been deleted from history. That's the quiet perfection of power. It doesn't destroy loudly. It edits. Outside, life continues. Merchants shout. Children chase dogs through the alleys. Someone sings in a courtyard about the glory of Rome. No one hears the silence under the song. When an empire starts selling purity by the pound, it's not the girls who lose their innocence. It's everyone watching, and everyone pretending that applause is not the sound of complicity. The arena of terror, turning death into entertainment, midday. The air trembles with heat and cheering. Dust drifts like smoke over the Colosseum's sand. Somewhere, a drum beats. Slow, steady, cruel. You think you've come to watch a game. That's what the tickets promise. A spectacle of courage, of Rome's power, discipline, glory. But when the gates open, you realize it's something else entirely. The first man who enters isn't a gladiator. He's a senator, a man who once debated law, now dressed in armor too large for him. The crowd laughs. Caligula does not. He's waiting for the laughter to turn into obedience. Across the arena, a cage creaks open. The lion steps out, confused, magnificent, starving. The senator drops his sword. It clatters, a sound that feels too small for what's about to happen. The crowd gasps. Some children cover their ears, others cheer. They learn early that mercy is un-Roman. Blood soaks the sand. The lion roars. Caligula claps once. A crisp, clean sound. Then he orders the next round. 2 noblemen this time. They hesitate. He smiles. They understand. One of them won't see sunset. The wives sit in the front row. They wear pearls. They don't blink. That's their form of prayer. Every time someone dies, they survive. Barely. The emperor loves this balance. He turns terror into theater. He turns silence into applause. It's efficient. You kill one man and 100 learn how to behave. You imagine sitting there. The air smells of metal and sunburned flesh. The roar of the crowd vibrates through your ribs. A part of you wants to look away. Another part can't. Because horror, once staged correctly, is strangely hypnotic. That's the secret Rome never admitted. Death was its favorite form of art. They carved it into marble, painted it in mosaics, and rehearsed it in real time. The empire didn't fear death. It domesticated it. After the show, vendors sweep the stands. Children chase each other across the empty seats. The sand is raked smooth again, ready for the next performance. History will call this tradition entertainment, glory. But under the marble arches, the smell of iron lingers, and the ghosts of the arena stay awake long after the audience has gone home. Rome believed death kept its citizens loyal, and it did, for a while. Because nothing unites a crowd faster than watching someone else bleed. The temple of corruption, blasphemy as politics. The temple doors open at dawn. Light spills across polished stone, bright, golden, almost merciful, almost. Inside, incense curls through the air. You might mistake it for holiness. You'd be wrong. Caligula waits at the altar, wearing a crown that once belonged to Jupiter. Gold leaves, heavy, absurd. He smiles like a man who just found a new toy. Except the toy is God. He's declared himself divine now, not metaphorically, not as a figure of speech. Literally, the living God of Rome. And he wants witnesses. The priests kneel, their faces polished with fear. He replaces them with women, the wives of senators, the same ones who used to pray here. Now, they serve as his holy attendants. That's the phrase he uses. The truth is less poetic. Each night, they're called to the temple. Perfume, candles, silk. It looks like ritual. It smells like worship. But it's something else. The fusion of religion and appetite. Rome has seen both before, just not in the same room. You can hear it in the hush between prayers, the way their bracelets tremble, the way no one dares to leave early. He's turned belief into currency and the temple into theater. Caligula's genius isn't in his cruelty, it's in his choreography. Every act of blasphemy is rehearsed, timed, beautifully lit. He understands the performance of sin better than any poet understands verse. When he enters the temple, people bow deeper than before, not out of devotion, out of calculation, because refusing to kneel isn't bravery here, it's suicide. The irony doesn't escape him. He preaches humility while seated on a throne. He demands purity while bathing in excess. He tells them to believe in him, and they do, because belief is safer than truth. Outside, the city buzzes. Children chase pigeons through the forum. Coins stamped with the emperor's face glint in the sun. Each one a tiny reminder. Even money now carries worship. Inside, the temple glows with false divinity. It's beautiful in a nauseating way. Every empire decorates its sins. Rome just uses better marble. Later, the wives return home. Their husbands pour wine, pretending nothing happened, pretending their gods are still listening, pretending Rome hasn't already traded heaven for the favor of one man. It's a strange kind of faith, to pray to the same hands that stripped you of your soul. And so the temple stays open. The incense keeps burning. The empire keeps bowing. Because when blasphemy wears a crown, even silence sounds like prayer. The rituals of degradation, crawling games, and midnight summons. The palace never really sleeps. It just changes tone. By day, gold and applause. By night, whispers, footsteps, fear. Somewhere deep inside, a door opens with the soft groan of guilt. Torches flicker. Shadows stretch like living things. Tonight, it's time for one of Caligula's favorite amusements. He calls them small tests of loyalty. Everyone else calls them nightmares. The rules are simple. If your name is spoken after dark, you must come, no matter the hour, no matter the reason. You dress fast, your hands trembling on the fabric. You pray your heartbeat doesn't sound like guilt. Down the corridor, other men are already there. Senators, generals, priests. They wait on their knees, heads bowed, breathing shallowly. Caligula watches from his chair, wine in hand, barefoot, bored. He points to one of them. "Crawl," he says. And the man does. On hands and knees, across cold marble slick with spilled perfume. Every few steps, he stops to kiss the floor. The emperor laughs softly. The others don't. They know the sound could be contagious. Sometimes Caligula throws coins. Like feeding birds. The men scramble to pick them up, pretending it's an honor. It's not. It's a measurement. How much self a person will sell to stay alive. When he grows tired, he calls for music. Flutes. Soft. Mocking. The rhythm of submission. A strange silence follows between the notes. A silence shaped like shame. There are other games too. He orders a senator to stand still for hours, holding a cup of wine, not spilling a drop. Another must crawl the length of the hall and beg forgiveness for a dream the emperor claims to have had. It doesn't matter what they did. It matters only that they obey, that they tremble correctly. Outside the window, Rome sleeps. Its streets dark, its fountains whispering. Inside, power performs itself again. A show with no audience. Only witnesses who wish they were invisible. Sometimes, no summons comes. And that's worse. Because not being called means you're being considered. Maybe for mourning. Maybe for never. So you wait. Every sound in the corridor could be your name. Every knock could be the end of your house. You lie awake until dawn. The candles have burned to stubs. Your mind has burned further. You hear footsteps again, and they pass. You're safe. For now. Which is just another kind of torment. Caligula understands this perfectly. Fear isn't effective when it kills you. It's effective when it keeps you breathing. Breathing quietly, obediently. And so the crawling continues. The whispers return. The palace never sleeps, because somewhere inside it, someone always kneels. Rome calls this loyalty. It's really just exhaustion, disguised as devotion. The legacy of shame. How Caligula's system still lives. Morning again. The empire wakes as if nothing happened. The marble still shines. The fountains still sing. History, as always, prefers a clean surface. Years pass. Caligula dies, not by destiny, but by daggers. Even gods, it seems, bleed red. His statues fall. His name is carved out of inscriptions. Rome tries to forget, but marble forgets nothing. Archaeologists once found a slab near Palatine Hill, 23 names, etched roughly beneath a single line. Silence is death. They say it belonged to a secret circle, survivors who had once served in his court, men who saw everything, men who spoke of nothing, until one night, maybe out of guilt, they carved their confession in stone. You imagine them working quietly by torchlight, the scrape of metal against rock, hands shaking, not from fear anymore, but from memory. They knew what it meant. To outlive shame is to carry it. To breathe after horror is its own punishment. The empire moved on, of course. It always does. New emperors, new gods, new versions of the same cruelty, polished and renamed. The system didn't die with Caligula. It just learned to dress better, 2,000 years later, the rituals look different. No marble halls, no lions, no slaves in chains. Just rooms where people stay quiet to keep their jobs. Screens where humiliation earns applause. Crowds that cheer for ruin and call it justice. Fear changes costumes, but the choreography stays the same. You bow. You laugh when you're supposed to. You stay silent when it matters most. And you tell yourself it's safer that way. It always is. Somewhere in the ruins of Rome, a broken column leans toward the dawn. Moss creeps over the stone, covering the names of the forgotten. Tourists pass by, taking pictures of what they think is history. But history isn't stone, it's repetition. Maybe that's what those 23 tried to say. That power never really ends. It just changes hands. That silence, once learned, echoes through generations. That every empire still demands its own polite version of humiliation. You walk away from the ruins. The air feels heavier than it should. The past isn't gone. It's waiting, listening, and somewhere beneath the dust, Rome is still whispering the same quiet rule it taught long ago. Speak softly, bow deeply, and never forget. The oldest empire still lives whenever shame is stronger than truth. The night softens now. The echoes fade. Even the marble seems to breathe slower. Somewhere far away, Rome still sleeps beneath its ruins. The wind moves through broken arches, carrying the faint hum of forgotten prayers. You can almost hear it. The quiet clink of a goblet, the murmur of distant laughter, the rustle of silk over stone. Ghosts of a world that mistook fear for order and silence for peace. But here, in this small corner of the present, you are safe. The empire has fallen. The torches are out. Only the story remains. A soft ember in the dark, warming the spaces history left cold. Close your eyes for a moment. Let the sound of your breath replace the roar of the crowd. Let the centuries drift back into sleep. And when you open your eyes again, remember how fragile power sounds when it whispers instead of shouts. If this story has found a quiet place in you tonight, let it stay and let it grow. You can subscribe to this channel so the next time history stirs in the dark, you'll be here to hear it first. Leave a like, a whisper of support, and help these old voices keep breathing. Goodbye, and we will meet again.